I get an unusual privilege today to be with Todd and Haley. Todd Duitsman.
Todd Duitsman,
isn't spelled like it sounds, but it's Duitsman, right? And as you know, Todd, serendipitously, we were invited to Molly and Alan Lieber's home to gather one evening. The last thing in the world I expected was to just get completely schooled and challenged. It was an evening I'll never forget. But we were there, and you and your daughter Haley and showed up to be a part of this evening, just a barbecue.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty direct when I feel called to, and I just walked up to you and said, "Hey, so tell me the story. What's going on?"
Yeah.
It was pretty much like that.
Yes.
And it seemed like that was a bit of a relief. Like, okay, good. Let's just talk about it. We don't have to dance around the fact that. But I every one of these podcasts starts with sort of a word, or it could be a couple words that I think will encapsulate the big picture where this is going. And the word, as I've thought about the questions I want to ask you and our time together, the phrase, I guess, that came to my mind is the idea of reinvention. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if that comes out to make sense in our time together. But you know, Todd, I'm going to let you just take it from before a life-changing accident.
Yeah.
I think that's a really significant part of where life was and how you saw yourself and what was happening.
Yeah.
And then you're going to roll into an accident. What happened?
Okay. Well, the amazing thing is, to me, is when you and I met at that party, at Molly and Alan's party, and we had a chance to connect. And then all of a sudden it dropped 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels. We went right down to the ground floor.
Yeah.
And I'm not really into superfluous, communication. You and I connected, and then we went deep really fast, which I appreciate about another human being.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Donnie Ray was there.
Yes.
And and we were, my daughter and Luke was all there.
Yeah.
And we were just able to connect quickly.
Yeah.
And then that right there, that connection between another human being is the spark.
It is.
But to go to that, so thank you so much for having us on, and I really appreciate it.
Well, you guys being here is truly a highlight. I've been looking forward to this since that night. I went, oh my gosh, just to have this story and your life infiltrate other lives. That's the exciting part of this. So
before the accident, I was worker guy. I was, involved in my wife and my children. We were coaching and playing as many sports as I can. I want to compete at everything that my kids were doing, whether it's basketball, pickleball, rock climbing, whatever it is. I want to be there. I want to be involved in their lives, and I want to experience it all. So that was Todd before the accident. It was just like, let's turn the switch on and let's go whatever we can. Let's do it faster, and let's have as much fun and just experience everything that we could possibly. And I love to work. You and I talked about this, construction, and I love blue collar, just getting in there and getting involved in everything that I possibly could and just feeling life. So you get one shot.
Right.
So,
and you're very competitive.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. So I always think the advantage is in my favor. And then I always think I'm going to win. Even when I'm losing, it doesn't matter. Greg, if you and I were on a pickleball court and you were beating me, we wouldn't leave until either I won or you wanted to walk away. Because I'm not, and I would make fun of you. I'd make fun of your mother. I'd make fun of anything I could to win. So that's just how I was built. So I had very competitive parents and brothers. And so, and my wife's competitive. All my kids are competitive. So we love to win. Yes. So that was me before the accident. And like I said, construction company and, development company and building company and cabinet company, just doing everything I possibly could to consume as much life as possible. Yes. So Yeah. So
and what little research I've done since I first met you, that you're understating it according to the research I've done. They're like, oh, no. There's competitive, Greg. And then there's like, you said, no, we're not leaving until I win.
Yes. Always want to win. Yes.
So I get that.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, okay. So, and I understand that kind of influence it defines one's self-image.
Yeah.
That when you show up, you and everyone know around you that you're here.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're going to hit it hard, fast, and consistently.
Yes.
And that's the image you have of yourself.
Yeah.
Most importantly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And, part of it is my mother and father, my dad said, make a game out of everything. So I think you and I touched on this a little bit there, is make a game out of everything, and you can handle anything for another 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So no matter what it was, I remember we grew up blue collar construction company, and my dad would assign us a task. Hey, you're going to dig the ditch. You can either dig it happy, you can dig it grumpy, you can dig it sad. Either way, this ditch is going to get dug.
Yeah.
So you might as well choose your attitude. And you know what? Make a game out of it while you're doing it, because really the time's going to come and it's going to go. So squeeze everything you can out of it, enjoy it. So, and so that was ingrained so much. And obviously we're products of our personality trait, and then we're products of what happened in our past.
Yeah.
And that was a very big, it's impacted me and my two brothers. So, and I've tried to make sure that's impacted in my kids. Obviously, sometimes in your marriage, making a game out of things doesn't really work too well, but everywhere else it seems to work. So, yeah.
I have one brother, year and a half older. You can, you say no more, right?
Yeah.
And a very strong dad that, hey, you work it out. So, which meant we just were at it all the time, but those guidelines of how it was there, you take them out into everything you do.
Yep.
The hardwiring doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Even with major circumstance, it doesn't go away. It's in you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My brothers are both business owners as well. Very high performing.
Yeah.
They're worker people. Yeah.
Right.
Get stuff done. Yeah.
Right. Are you the youngest?
I'm the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah.
So you got a sandwich going on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. You got it from both sides.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is that picture, I think, is so significant. The physicality of your life.
Yeah.
We got this. We're just going to get it done.
Yeah.
And if it means packing that roof because the crane doesn't work, we'll get it up there ourselves. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That take no prisoners kind of thing has a lot to do, I think, with it has to be a big part in the initial and perhaps the ongoing challenge
for sure
of this.
For sure.
That. So
yeah.
Well, tell me, let's go to what happened, because I to me, just hearing it from two perspectives too, because you were right there at the same place at the same time when this is happening. And I think this is a significant moment to underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I can go back, just take a couple steps back, Please. And then you have to curtail me because I'll ramble.
No.
So you just tie me right in when I just bring me right in.
We got nowhere to go.
So it's, construction companies building 2008, 2009. I had 3 different companies going: a cabinet company, building development company, and then we were building, we were starting to build construction, developing the whole thing. Well, it all went away 2008, 2009, 2010. I don't know if you experienced any of that.
Well, it's a tough time for everybody.
Tough run. Yeah. So I think I BK'd 3 businesses in 3 or 4 years, and so got into real estate. So get into real estate, and I'm having a blast learning it. But obviously, real estate was one of the worst times to ever get in real estate. But I always love a challenge, and I had a wife and 3 kids to feed. So I'm working at Costco in the morning from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And then I get my real estate license as I'm shutting all my companies down, trying to figure out how to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, get in 2010 and, sell 4 homes my first year. And then 2011 rolls around, sell a few more homes. And so finally I can start supporting myself. And so 2012, starting to make some money, finally again, getting back in the black. And we go over to Maui with my oldest son. He had just graduated from Lakewood High School right up here across the freeway. So we go over there and he's in a neck brace because he had dove into a pool and caught a football and cracked a vertebrae. So we're there in Maui with his neck brace on. And I remember sitting down with him because he's 18, and when you're 18 and a boy, you think you're invincible. And I said, Tyler, the most important thing is God only gives you one body. And can you imagine going through the rest of your life being in a wheelchair? That would suck. You have to look at the odds and not do things that will cause you to possibly be like that. And so I remember very specifically having that conversation. Well, then 2014 rolls around. Haley graduates from high school. And so we go over to Maui again. And I remember very vividly, I love Maui. I love being in the warmth. I love the shorts. I love the weather. I love the sunshine. I love the salt water. Everything about it. I love it. And so we're over there and we drop off our bags. We grab something to eat and then we're off to the beach. And so Haley, was it Big Beach or Little Beach that we went to?
I think it was McKenna.
McKenna. Mm-hmm. So we run down, we're at McKenna Beach, and so we have 20 plus friends around there, and we're all bouncing around the water, having a blast. And so we start body surfing to see who can make it the furthest in on the shore. And so everybody's kind of going here and there.
There's a competition.
The competition. There we go. And a couple waves are coming in. I told my buddy, I said, hey, I'm going to grab one of these. And he goes, no, Todd, there's a bigger one coming. And so I always want bigger, better, faster. That's the story of my life. And so I wait and I catch that wave. And Greg, I'm on that thing just perfectly. I'm right at the top. And I'm just all the senses are tingling. It's a nice giant wave. And all of a sudden I look down and I think, oh, there's no water down there. And so I'm like the human dart that just goes bonk right in there. And I go from just all the adrenaline popping to all of a sudden everything shuts down. And it was just, I remember 3 thoughts going through my head. The first one was, wow, this is how the jellyfish must feel because my tendrils were just kind of flopping in the water. And then the second one was, boy, God, is this how I'm checking out? Is this it? Am I done? Because nothing's moving. And then the third thought was, boy, somebody better come and get me because I can only hold my breath for a couple of minutes. And it's not like the waves just stop. They just keep coming and coming. And so they're pulling me out and the water's coming and everything's crashing. And I remember Barry coming over and my son coming over and flipping me over. And he thinks I'm kidding because it's a story of my life. And I just looked at him and said, no, Barry, I'm screwed on this one. I can't move. And Tyler's right there, my son, he's, 19, 20 years old. And I said, but I will walk again. It'll be fine. I'm sure it's just I can figure this out. I'll be back in action pretty quick. And then the lifeguards came down and they grabbed me and tucked me in a board and pulled me back into the waves. They waited a couple and then they pulled me, ran me up onto the beach and the lifeguards, got me all wrapped up and they said, what's your name? And I said, well, they said, what's your name and how old are you? And I said, well, my name is Stallion and I'm 25. And Barry goes, no. He's 45 years old. His name's Todd Duitsman. And there we go, so yeah. So there it was. It was just an amazing flip. You go from doing everything you want in life to all of a sudden, hey, my cheek is itchy, sweetheart. I'll tell my wife, can you scratch that for me? Because the first 11 days I couldn't move, so fascinating. Yeah.
I think there's so many parts of this and Haley, I want you to get your microphone close because I want you to chime in. Maybe AJ will give you a hand there. It seems like that little clamp has to be moved up a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you do it.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. That's going to be better. Thanks, AJ. Part of this story that draws me is that even in that place, even in that moment, there doesn't appear to be any doom and gloom. It's like, I'll figure this out.
Yes.
I've got myself out of other things before.
Yes.
I'll get out of this.
Yes.
Was that your take too? And hearing about it, and did you think that, like, oh, he'll figure something out?
Yeah, my dad, always, like he said, our childhood was a game. Like, we had the most fun out of everybody. All my friends still are friends with my dad to this day, and know that he's just, the king of jokes and having fun all the time. So when it happened, I looked over and I thought, oh, he's kidding, because even though this might not be the funniest joke, he's kidding and he's fine,
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine, yeah. And then when the lifeguards came out to rush him in, I thought, oh, this is for real, and this might be an issue, but he'll walk. He's fine. I'm sure it was just, it went through my head, when football players have stingers or whatever, and they get up and eventually they're fine, So that's kind of what I was thinking, because my dad was
invincible. Right.
Yeah.
So in a sense, your life before sort of set you up for a lack of empathy, sympathy. Todd will figure this out. He always figures it out. When did it hit you that this may not be something you're going to figure out in the way that you'd hoped you were going to figure it out? Where did that moment hit?
Oh, there's some different levels to that one.
Is there? Okay.
There's some different levels.
I want to hear the progression of thought.
There's some different levels. So this can be a long conversation, Greg, because there's just some different things that along the journey. Can I get a drink of that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And anything we can do too. There you go.
At first, when it first happened, I'm sitting there telling the people, "Hey, you guys go grab some pizza. I'll be right back. I just got to go to the hospital and get this figured out real quick. I'm sure I'll be fine."
Right.
And so, all of a sudden you go to the hospital and figure out, this isn't going to be fine. But I've never had the feeling of this wasn't going to be fine, because it was like, okay, what happens next? Oh, we go see the doctors, or, I'm in the giant tube. It's like everything's a brand new experiment. Even though I don't want to be in that experiment, obviously I want to be whipping your tail in ping pong or pickleball or whatever it is, but everything is a brand new experiment. And it's just like, okay, how do I deal with this, and how do I win? And so circle back to the point of, when did you figure this out? It was probably about a year or two into after the accident, because I still thought I was going to be right back playing basketball and doing pickleball and stuff like that. A year or two into it, I go down to yoga down in Bothell. Probably I used to go down once a week. And I remember my assistant at the time pushing me through the crosswalk. Mm-hmm. And unless you're in a wheelchair, you never really notice that the crosswalk little white bars are raised. And so she's pushing me through, and all of a sudden it clicked in that, hey, Todd, you're not getting any better. And you have to get your life started right now. You can't keep wishing for the future and things that are going to change. But I felt those thumps, and it almost like jarred me to realize that, hey, as Miriam's pushing me behind, and I'm going through the crosswalk, and I'm looking at all the people that are looking at me at the cars because they're waiting, and I'm not ashamed anymore to be. There's a bunch of weird emotions that go through about being ashamed of being in a wheelchair or not being an active human like everybody else, Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I'm looking at the people in their eyeballs, I'm thinking, I'm not ashamed anymore. And this is just where I'm at. And you know what? You need to get your shit together and move forward, Todd, in life. Mm-hmm. And about that same time, Haley and my wife had said, hey, you need to get your stuff back together with your business and start, kicking tail in real estate again. And it was just such a weird thing at that moment. Something jarred me as I'm being pushed across here to just say, hey, this is it. This is where you're at. Get better at the game now. This is your new game. The rules have changed, but you just need to win. So just that was the weirdest thing. It just hit me that day. I still remember that. Just going across, feeling little bumps as you're walkie. If you're a walkie, because you guys are walkies and I'm a roller, as a walkie, you never really think about that. But just hitting those bumps, they just jarred me and thought, you're not getting better right now, Todd. So that's okay. Just the game's changed.
And I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth, but you said something like, what does winning at this look like?
Yeah.
How do I win? It's a different game.
Yeah.
What does winning even look like here?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a lot of games you play, well, you hit 21, you won.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But what does this look like? What does the end zone look like?
Wow. That's...
I mean, you would, I don't know. To me, seems like the biggest question of all, because every game we ever take on, here's what winning looks like. It's right there. Read the directions. This is the guy with the most points when the clock runs out wins. That's how we define winning in this game. But what does this winning look like? And I think anybody that knows your life today could make a laundry list of this is a part of that, what winning looks like, because it seems amazing that you do all of what you do, your mental attitude, the approach that you have, it all forms this package that says you've won, you figured this out, but you had to figure it out for yourself at some point. How do you win? Every other game you ever played, here's what winning looks like. Now, what does this one look like? I think that's, as I've thought about it, I'm like, wow, you get to say what winning looks like. So how do you define winning? What, even day in and day out, what does winning look like to you? We have some Kleenex somewhere. There we go, right here. AJ in the bath. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Thank you. Here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal question, Greg.
Well, I'm asking because from what I see, and I just can't wait to know you really, really, really well, but from what I see, and that evening, I'm not kidding you, I've never written so much in my journal after a meeting in my life. And I've asked that question. It's like, okay, if this happened to you, you'd have to redefine the whole playing field. What does winning look like? How do you define that?
I think you kind of punched me in the gut there.
I know.
Yeah. I don't, and I, as we're having this conversation, love real estate, but probably real estate isn't, it's winning, but winning is bigger than that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have to believe it's so much bigger than that.
I think you're right.
But I also would tell you, Todd, that if I don't even ask the question, I know when I go to a deep ocean place, somebody has deeply affected me. And what affected me is that you're winning. And I don't, there's this saying, you don't know how you would be or what you would be or how you would handle anything unless you're going through it.
Yeah.
Well, believe me, I look at this and I guess that's the most difficult part is, could I win like you're winning?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to comment on that because I think I have to hand it to my dad throughout this entire thing. Like you asked the question, when did you know that you were kind of screwed in the situation? And to this day, I don't think he ever thinks like that he's truly screwed in the situation because he always is in a mindset of winning.
Right.
And he's winning every day.
Yes.
And he sometimes I don't think realizes how much he's won at this whole situation, but just the lives that he's touched. And what he's accomplished personally, and then even just the relationship with my mom and my brothers and I, he's already won. I mean, he's won the whole deal, and he continues to do that every day. And I don't think that he truly realizes how much he impacts his family and friends and those around him by winning with his attitude in this situation.
You know, I think God does things sometimes when he really tries to make a point. It doesn't come just one way. It comes and all of our philosophies are played out, and they become how we see ourselves. But there's such a difference when your core philosophy, your core how you see yourself now is being challenged. You know, it's like, oh, and that can happen in a lot of ways. But when you define everything in terms of a game, and I'm going to win, whether it's business, it's life, any way, it seems like the ultimate challenge is, I mean, if I said, okay, Todd, overcome this or get to the top of Everest with no oxygen and get back, you'd go, I could do that with my eyes closed. I mean, literally, you could. It's almost like God said, but what would really challenge you?
Well, I think that's what you nailed me with, like in the gut, is I might be winning in real estate, which I'm super blessed, and I am winning in real estate. Yet the reality is probably my picture is to win at something bigger than that. And I'm not saying bigger, yet I need to be a better vessel for him. In that regard, to be a better, really to be a better vessel for him. How can, if you have a talent in something, and when you ask me that question, I'm not really winning right now. I mean, I am, but the reality is there's something I can do better to be a better vessel for Christ to help other humans. So when you said that, all of a sudden I'm thinking, wow.
Well, I would tell you that you being here right now, just putting yourself out there, Todd, is to me, if I were going to say what I believe winning looks like for you, it's that
thank you.
Your class on what real winning looks like has to be taught. Mm. You're the one that's has had to look at it and define it, and that's being defined.
Yeah.
Now, how do you move forward with that?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Because that is going to ultimately write the story of impacting lives.
Yeah.
You knocked me, you talked about a gut punch. Geez, I mean, I get it. You gut punched me, and I've thought about it every day since I met you. Because am I doing with what I have the very best to deliver something positive, to make an impact? Well, I would argue that in a sense, you have a greater opportunity because the obvious hurdles that you're dealing with are greater obstacles.
Sure.
Not that we all have obstacles. We all have a battle. We all have something we've got to get over. Oh my gosh, we just got done, with listening to, Donnie Ray's mountain of challenge. But are we figuring out how this game works and how it can help others with how we've approached winning it?
Yeah. Well, I think one
amazing.
of the things in the hospital that I realized is I'm laying there in the hospital, and people would come and people would go, and you'd have the doctors and the nurses, which I'm unbelievably grateful for. And then for some reason it stuck in my brain as I thought to myself, everybody coming in here, I need to make sure that my soul is burning bright in my body, that my soul burns bright. And then my job is everybody coming into my room, whether it's the guy emptying the trash, whether it was a doctor, whether it was a student helping the doctor or nurse or whatever. I wanted to make sure that my soul was burning bright, and then I wanted to make sure that their soul was burning bright. Mm-hmm. And how can you touch another human being to make them, and I'm not saying, just to pretend words or whatever. I'm just saying that how can you drop levels and get to the core of that human and touch their soul to burn bright so that they in turn would go and touch somebody else to make their soul burn bright. Mm-hmm. And for some reason that came across me, and maybe it's something I read or whatever it was, yet that was my ultimate goal. And then how do you do that in real life? Make sure that your soul is burning bright, and then go touch Greg and make sure that his is burning bright and Haley's is that burning bright, and they can continue to spread that around. And it was just the oddest thing that would come through your brain, because obviously there's a lot of time to think and review things in your life.
Yeah.
So, and my whole life, Greg, honestly, I've got a wonderful wife. I got wonderful kids and wonderful family and community that supports me. So it's easy for me to have a great, I wouldn't say it's easy, yet at the same time, I'm very, very blessed in everything I do with my life,
Haley, as you over the last, let's just roughly call it decade, how is this situation, how is this reality that your dad deals with every day, how has it changed you as a person?
I think that it's changed me first with perspective, because really that was something that rocked all of our worlds as a family, and as me personally. When your dad is an injury like that, and he's my best friend, so it's like when that happens, it's like your whole world is completely flipped upside down, and I'm there and supporting him through the whole thing. But it gives you perspective, I think, with life, because when other things happen in business or even in personal life, it's not really that big a deal, because it really, his accident really showed, I think, me, and then I can speak for my family as well, like what's really important, which is a connection with people that you love, and then other people, and your connection with God as well. So I think it's really given me the perspective to say, this isn't a big deal. This business deal that we lost it's not a big deal, and this that happened in life, it's okay, because of the perspective that we have now of, what truly matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a mentor, so blessed my whole life since I was about 7. He sort of adopted me as his grandson. I had no grandfathers that I ever met, and my dad and mom had no fathers they ever met, so thus no grandfathers, right? But he took on that role, and I learned so much from him. But he said something once that made me think of what you're saying, and it was written, I don't know who said it, but it went something very much like this. I felt poorly that I had no shoes, and then before me a man with no feet. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget that. And I went, oh my gosh, it is that perspective thing. We can go, oh, this so sucks, and then here's the ultimate, and I think that your situation, Todd, only serves that purpose if there's joy, and as you put it, that the soul is burning bright in the vessel that has this challenge. Yeah. In other words, if you had a I hate life attitude, it wouldn't have a positive impact at all. It would actually completely have a reversal. It would really darken somebody's day.
Yeah.
But the challenge that you offer is a result of this attitude that you maintain. How do you maintain that attitude?
Well, It's absolutely fascinating. It gave me chills when you just said that story. Greg, I've got story after story of just layers of Todd eyes opening to different perspectives of life that probably would have never happened to me if I didn't experience this situation. I remember very vividly heading down to Harborview from Stanwood in a rainy day, just like today, with my wife, and I'm supposed to have 2 appointments down there in Harborview to go down there, and the doctor cancels, and it's a big hassle to get me out of the house, and then my wife's driving the van, and it's pouring down rain, and we're heading down to Seattle, and it's an hour drive one way, and so my ass hurts, and I don't feel like going down there, and the whole works, but they're going to work me out, and then I got a doctor visit. And so we're bombing down on I-5, and the doctor calls and says, "Hey, I've got to cancel." And I'm sitting there thinking, this is ridiculous. We're driving down there for one 40-minute appointment. Well, we go down there. My wife is so sweet, and she, I'm like a caged gorilla in the back, just irritated and ticked off. And so we go down there, and she says, "Hey, why don't we go grab some lunch?" And I'm just... Greg, I'm pissed off because one of the guys canceled, and we're driving an hour one way minimum,
Right.
And so we're down there, and we go into the thing and to get a cafeteria, and I look up the board, and I say, "Oh, okay, they have cranberry with turkey sandwich." And I say to my wife, "Okay, that's what I would like." And so she goes, "Okay, no problem." And so I scurry over there, and I'm waiting at the little booth thing, and she comes over at the lunch. She opens it all up, and she goes to feed me a bite. And I said, "Hey, hon, there's no cranberries on my sandwich." And she goes, "Yeah, there's none on there, Todd." And I go, because I'm at the point where I'm so pissed off.
Right.
I said, "You got to go back and get some cranberries on my sandwich." And she goes, "Todd, they're out of cranberries." And I go, "No, I want my freaking cranberries." And she goes and checks. My wife is so sweet. And she goes and checks, and she goes, "Nah, they're out." And I'm like so pissed off because I couldn't get my cranberries on my sandwich.
Right.
And all of a sudden, what you just said echoed through my brain of, you know what? Somebody's got it worse, Todd. You know what? You just eat your sandwich and it's okay. And so we go up to check into the gal that's going to work me out. So there's a line up there. And so I go up there, and I'm sitting in line, and I'm still pissed off because I didn't get my cranberries on my sandwich, and we're checking in to see Mrs. Silver, the occupational therapist, to work me out for a little bit. And I go in and check in, and I'm grumpy and everything, and I'm sitting there, and I kind of wheel away a little bit, and then all of a sudden the guy behind me goes in, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's got one nub of a right arm, and his left arm, he's got some fingers on it. He has no legs. And he's sitting there, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Marianne." He's checking in too, right behind me. He goes, "Hey, I drew you a little picture while I was waiting in line." I just go, "Oh, fuck."
Right.
I went right over in the corner and started crying, just like, "Todd, you're such a schmuck, because there, for the grace of God, go you." You know what I'm saying?
Right, yes.
And it's exactly like what you just said. And there's so many lessons of life. And I always think advantage, Todd, because I had 45 years of an unbelievable life doing whatever I want, not needing anybody physically, doing whatever I want. And then the last 10 years, I've needed my wife, my children, my friends, everybody to take care of me physically. I don't get out of bed in the morning unless my wife pulls me up and gets me going, and she spends a 3-hour time frame before I'm a giant Ken doll that just lays there, and she makes me breakfast and then gets me out of bed and gets me in the bathroom, gives me a shower, gets me dressed up, and so I can come and look pretty and hang out with you, So it's a fascinating experience, that's for sure.
I think I'm gonna tell me if I'm wrong, but the hardest thing for me to do, and I'm gonna guess it was the hardest thing for you to do. When you're wired the way your life was before, I don't ask anybody for help.
I know.
No one. Matter of fact, it almost feels wrong. Like if you can do it yourself, just do it.
I know that's
and what can't you do yourself?
Yes.
And you know, again, that hardwiring of, I got it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
You only ask if you physically cannot do this yourself. And believe me, I think of this body and how busted up it is because I've tried to do things that no thinking person would think they could do themselves.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to ask anybody for help. It's wrong. It's taking you out of what you're doing. Everybody's got things to do. Yeah. I'm not going to burden you. There's that pride. Self-talk.
I can do it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you can't even wipe the tears from your face.
I know.
And it truly, I would think, I wouldn't know what to do.
Greg, it's so fascinating. I remember sitting in the hospital room and my friend Barry's sitting there right next to me, and he goes, because I have no patience, or excuse me, previous to the accidents, I had very little patience.
Yes.
And I wanted to control everything.
Right.
And he says to me, right now you have no control of anything, and you have to be the best patient ever. And I thought, oh.
Wow. Yeah.
And I thought, what a mind screw.
Right.
And, you know, to me, it's like, okay, that's the new game.
Right.
And maybe some people don't think like that, yet for me, it's the new game.
Right.
How do I deal with this?
And how do I define winning?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that when you punch me in the stomach with that one I need to revisit, and that's something I'm going to document, because really winning isn't just being really good at selling real estate from my perspective. It's God's given me a gift, and he's given me a talent, and I'm not using it effectively, and I need to be better. And so you got me with that one, and I really need to work hard at that.
Nothing in my world is coming you by way of criticism, let me tell you. But I
thank you for that gift.
I so appreciate it's almost like asking the right questions is how we get to the solution. We've got to ask the right questions. And for me, as I've thought a lot about this, it's like, you know, if this were a game and it's a serious game, well, it's so damn serious. I really want to win it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not just going to let this one go where, okay, didn't quite make that one. No, this is the most important game now. So what does it mean to win? And how do you help others? Because I think we would agree too, and maybe your insight to this, as I've got to believe, has just grown exponentially. But the idea that everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. In other words, there is this version of something in everybody.
Yeah.
They may not know it. They may not really even be able to recognize it.
Yeah.
But isn't that the name of the game? That's the game you want to win.
Yeah.
That battle that's got you. That's got you, that challenge that is yours that maybe no one else knows about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about that a lot. And I also think if we do pray to God to, hey, I want to grow, I want to be my very best, it's like, wow.
Sometimes
it
it's
almost
not comfortable.
scares me to say that, because he may just have something up his sleeve saying, all right, so here, I'm going to...
Are you really serious about that?
Here's this pitch. Go ahead. Here we go. Deal with this one.
Exactly.
You know?
Because really, if this wouldn't have happened, Greg, I'd probably be just another... I'd be another real estate agent with a bunch of money running around doing stupid ass shit, just making poor decisions. And I think this is, obviously I don't want to be in a wheelchair, yet at the same time, it's probably grounded me to like really have some different perspective of, and just be a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better friend. It was probably a gift. I don't want to think of that like that, but the reality is it probably was a gift.
Well,
again, not that I want to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, no, but think about it. That at least this is my version of that. On your own, would I ever say, okay, I'm gonna walk in the door and sign up for this, and there you go. This is what I'm going to do to myself so that I will become a better person. Well, no one would ever go in and sign that form and say, let's do it. Here's my money. Let's, in other words, the earthquakes that come that you would never choose.
Yeah.
Can you play judo with it? Can you make this wrong a right? Yeah. Can you take the momentum and energy of what appears to be negative, and can you use that momentum for a positive end? Yeah. That's the ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
And to give people some very concrete steps, choices of mindset, little games that help you win the big game.
Yeah.
I think that there's almost a syllabus that your life could deliver.
Yeah.
It is delivering.
Yeah.
But to really be conscious of, this is an outline I'm going to write to help people when a hurricane hits them right through the front door.
Yeah.
And now you didn't choose this, but here you go.
Yeah.
How do you win? And daily, how does your wife win? How does your kids win as a result of this?
Yeah.
It becomes the big question for me. And I think you're living it. I'd challenge you, though, to literally create an outline and deliver it.
Yeah.
Deliver the little steps that I got too many things going through my head. When we were at Molly and Alan's, you were trying to, I don't know if it was adjust your coat or something you were trying to do, but you were trying to lift your arm and your arm wasn't cooperating.
Yeah.
But you kind of knew you could do it. And so you were talking to yourself. You're going, come on, Todd, come on, come on. Come on, Todd, you got this.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, it's like your self-talk is encouraging you.
Yes.
Like, how important is that? You know, I mean, it just, everything you did, and you didn't even know I was taking notes, but I'm like, oh my God, do you talk to yourself that way, Greg? Because most of the time you don't.
Yeah.
The anti-you does a lot of talking in my head. But your voice is an encouraging voice for you, like a coach would go, come on, you got this, run it again, run the play again, you can do it. And I thought, wow, that's like part of the syllabus.
Yeah.
How do you talk to yourself?
So that's an interesting deal. Haley and I were just talking about that last night, my superpower. So I don't know what caused me to read all the, How to Win Friends and Influence People, all the, boy, I can't even remember all the ones, the Ogmandinos, the Zig Ziglars. I read that stuff in 12, 13, 14, and it cemented into my brain. And then having, a tough dad, a tough mom, and then just, it was a perfect combination for me.
Right.
And so, my wife just commented on the other day, she goes, why do you get on yourself when I'm not taking my steps good enough? Or she goes, why do you say, come on, Todd? And I said, hun, it's just like, get my shit together. Let's go, Todd.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's come on, Todd, let's go. You can be better. And so my deal is that we were talking about my superpower. My superpower is just like, I can tell that you work out. I can tell that you're in the gym. I can tell that you take care of yourself, Greg. I can tell that just by looking at you, And so for me, it's my superpower is, my friend says to me, it's controlling the second thought. My friend says to me, hey, let's go boating. Well, I want to go out on the boat and jet ski. I want to go water ski. I want to go, surf behind the boat. I want to have a beer. I want to be tan. I want to be in my shorts. I want to be laughing and having fun on the boat. Well, Greg, I can't do that anymore. It's not the same.
Right.
And so the first thought is, yeah, boy, that sounds like fun and I'd like to go, but I can't. And so the second thought could be, oh man, woe is me. I don't get to go out on the boat. I don't get to have a cold beer. I don't get to be in the sun. I don't get to be hanging out with my wife and kids and surfing behind the boat. And you can go down that rabbit trail. Or the second thought is, hey, okay, what am I going to do today instead? Okay, I'm going to work on my book. I'm gonna work on some business deals. I'm going to work on, I really want to go out and look at the tree and watch the squirrels outside. Whatever it is, I have trained my muscle and my brain to not go down the second, third, fourth step. It's the first thought comes into your brain. Okay, that's a free one. Everybody gets a free shot. Now I curb where the second thought goes. I direct where that second thought goes. So, and that's just a muscle that I've done over time. So now I don't typically get down about anything. I don't lose faith in God. I don't, really, everybody's, even when people piss me off, the reality is they really don't, because I think everybody's trying to do the best they can. Besides my wife and kids, they're the only ones that really. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's like almost the title of a book right there. Control the second thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first one comes in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now you recognize I've got to make a choice about that next one. See, it's practical tools like that you could build and teach and give example after example. And once people hear it, they go, oh, okay, I know what I got to do. As Todd would say, I got to control the second thought. Well, just the awareness of that, because I don't know. To me, this is part of this. How do I want to put this? That what's been delivered to you now has to be packaged, repurposed to deliver what's come of that.
Yeah.
And this will be your greatest deliverable. Yeah. Your greatest win will be how you now can help people who are stuck. I mean, anxiety, depression. I mean, it's shit. It's like a wave these days. Yeah. And that ability to choose what we think next. Yeah. How do you do that? Well, practical tools that can help people with that.
It's just like being in the gym. I mean, literally, it's practice, practice, practice. So I don't want to say I'm impervious, and yet the reality is I love Jesus, and I believe I know where I'm going. Yeah. And what anybody else thinks or says or whatever does about me, that's on them. It's like, okay, Todd, how do I right this ship in my brain, and how do I move in the right direction? Come on, Todd.
Yes.
Come on, be better.
Yeah. Todd, I told you when we met, we got in a very wonderful, amazing, I wish every day could have discussions that were important and deep. But I told you about a friend of mine who, a gifted athlete and a Penn State guy and linebacker and went right into the NFL and he was with the Titans when things were changing. He couldn't hang on. He couldn't wrap up. He hit, but then he couldn't hang on. And like, what in the hell is going on? And these tests, he discovered he had ALS. And I've been a part of that journey from when he had just found out, and we'd still get out there and play golf, but he knowing his body well, could feel the subtle changes happening. Yeah. And now this is, I don't know, 6-7 years later, he really, he gave an 18.5-minute TED talk. And I think he said 30 words. Yeah. Because he really can't speak. It's very difficult to make a word. Obviously he's bound to a wheelchair. But Tim said something very clear, that he had thought that being, an NFL football star was the platform God had for him to have influence.
Yeah.
And he said, and I had no idea, but I have way more opportunity to influence people now in this game.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed Tim for an hour recording that we did for many years, and I've listened to that thing at least 50 times, because it, again, perspective, but also calling. Where are you going to have the greatest impact? What is the message? What's it set in? Impact is a combination of a lot of different things, and he's so blessed to be in this place he is now. That's all you would ever feel from him, is what a blessing, because the impact is so much greater now than it ever was, even when I was starting in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, Greg, you just have to rethink it all.
Yeah.
I think you're doing an amazing, amazing job. Tell me about real estate for you. It's well known. You kick ass and take names in the real estate world.
Yeah.
You don't go anywhere out here in the North End that people don't know you for your real estate. Is it in part is the fact that you're using your communication skills and your less physicality and more mind and communication to do what you do? What's the secret for your success in that real estate?
That's a great question. And, obviously when you're first injured, you think that you're going to be doing everything that you were doing before, yet that's not how that goes. So it took years to figure out, okay, well, my greatest strength is probably to make phone calls. And then for past clients, I can go meet with them at a coffee shop or at my office or whatever the case. And then, yet I have to rely, I'm just like a quarterback now. And so that's kind of what I make phone calls and I go meet with people, and I've got a bunch of connections. So I always, just like this right here, I love to connect with other humans and have a great conversation, find similarities, and then see what I can do to help. So that's, and I like twisted, weird, tough situations in real estate as well, and things are going sideways or whatever, and you have to figure things out. I like that.
Right.
I like the game of that. And yes, I do regular buyers and sellers, but I like to figure out. I like the game of just hard. I don't like things. I mean, even when I got in real estate in 2010 and 11 and 12, it was hard.
Right.
And and so I like it hard, though. I like it when when it's tough for other humans. Yeah. I don't know. I just wired that way.
It's how you see yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll be the last one to leave this field.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that just pays off over years, so of just knowing humans. And if you work hard and have a good reputation and just be honest, I think it sends little waves out that just keep going out and out and out. So, yeah.
And this team, Haley, that you're a part of, how do you see your role in real estate, but also how is it working with your dad as the quarterback, as it were?
Yeah, I think that he's downplaying. His greatest strength is connection with people.
Yeah.
Truly, one of the greatest connectors I've ever met and ever witnessed in action. I mean, he loves to cold call, first of all. We set up his day and I say, okay, we got to call your past clients today, and check in on everybody. And he's excited for the cold calls because he likes to get somebody grumpy on the phone and then flip them and then become a best friend. And then, we're at their house for dinner later that night. So truly, that's his greatest strength. So with our team, I kind of run the back end and do the organization and set up so that his time is spent doing what he's best at. And then we have a couple other great gentlemen on our team as well that are just incredible, more like buyer's agents. So they run and show houses and they have their own clients and stuff going on. But it's really a special team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she downplays it. I mean, I can throw anything at her, and she's just the glue. She takes care of it. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
So then Carlos and Philip and Luke and and Craig, I'm very blessed. Yeah, good humans.
But you know that I have to believe that this team is a very different team.
Yeah.
And as a result, you know, the leadership of that is trickling down, the attitude, the positivity, the game. All right, we're making 100 calls today. Everybody go. Yeah. Let's go. Here we go. Let's check notes. Where are you at? What number are you on? Yeah. I mean, I could just feel that vibe, which, I mean, people go to great lengths to learn how to be a leader, and you're a natural leader. And now it's almost like a multiplier. It's even more so because of what you're having to navigate.
Yeah.
I think that great leaders navigate things and keep leading.
The other thing is, I never think that what I'm doing is special, and I don't think that. Excuse me. I always want to be better. Learning, growing. I want to be better every single day. Learning, growing. Nothing I'm doing is special. It's just what I always think in my brain, it's what somebody else would do in my situation. And how do I be better? Yeah. That's really what goes through my brain all the time. How can I be better? Am I doing something that can be better? Constantly.
One of the, at least in my own finite mental world, as I process things, one of the lines that I concluded, sort of like a conclusion of this line of thought that I had many, many years ago in trying to figure out winning. What's winning look like? I came up with the line. It's sort of been a tagline for many years. It's actually painted right on the side of the airplane there. But that growth is the grail and sameness is the enemy, is what I concluded in this thought. And the redefinition, reinvention, which is our word for the day, at least that I chose, was it's the opposite of sameness.
Yeah.
That growth is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I ask people all the time, it's like, listen, does this year look like a snapshot of last year?
Yeah.
Does it look the same? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I look at this as being like the ultimate challenge that will never quit giving challenges to you. I mean, it's just everything and everywhere is a challenge. And what a beautiful backdrop for growth. Yeah. If you embrace that truly, isn't it? You know, and adversity always brings the greatest growth opportunities.
100%.
And yet we steer out of adversity. We go way around it. You know, and I've become more accepting of adversity. It's like, oh, well, this is gonna definitely, test some things. Yeah. Let's see what we're made of here. Mm-hmm. Nothing like this, Todd. Yeah. But at the same time, it's what is the adversity in front of you, and how do you play judo with it? How do you make it a growth experience? Yeah. We just got done, interviewing Donnie. It's like, wow, how do you take this and make something beautiful and amazing out of it?
Well, the thing that kind of strikes me is, first of all, you asked me, what is winning? For some reason that hit a chord, and I've got to revisit that. And the second is, it's biblical. I mean, God gives you talents.
Yes.
And then what are you doing with those talents?
Right.
Are you burying them? Are you investing them properly?
Right.
And when you hit me with that, and I don't know why that caused that one question, what are you winning at? Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking, am I really using my talents? And then am I really using my talents? And if I'm not, why? Because I'm being selfish. Mm-hmm. And then second of all is, who are you not reaching because you're not using your talents and causing their soul to burn brighter? And really, it's just me because I'm being selfish and not really getting out there and saying, hey, how can I help you more, whether it's on Big Daddy's Big Adventure, my Facebook page, or, just even, writing a book or whatever. Why am I being lazy? Come on, Todd, be better, Come on, Todd, be better.
Yeah. See, I can just tell by Haley's reaction to it's the same as mine. It's like, oh my God, you're pushing yourself. It automatically overlays the question on, it's like, okay, boy, you're saying, what's my excuse? And I'm saying, oh my God, really, Greg, what's your excuse? Mm-hmm. Because you have none. And I think that this is the deliverable. It's not to say, oh, I've figured this out and I'm better than you, but it's to say this hurdle.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot to get on top of it.
Yeah.
And I want to help you with practical ways to do that in your own version.
Yeah.
And this is how you can win.
Yeah.
And Todd, I think that you're doing that naturally. It truly is happening. It's happening. Everybody that I've poked and again, I've talked to Molly a lot, and I've talked to Jeff Latham, and these are students of mine that know you like, oh man, they just all they can think of is like the challenge you put forth with your attitude. Mm-hmm. Just challenges everybody. And I think that to just be conscious of that, to now say, okay, now I'm going to up the game. Yeah. Now I'm going to actually help you with practical ways to win.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's awesome.
Well, I'm actually almost kind of irritated by it, Greg, to be honest with you. I mean, it got me in the gut. I'm just like, dang it. Be better, Todd. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good. No, I love the gauntlet throwing down. Dang it, Todd. Come on.
Yeah. No, but you just don't back down to anything. That is how you're motivated.
Yeah.
Is by the ultimate. Well, God delivered. And I think too, Todd, that at least what little I know, and I get a little bit of embrace at the thought that it's the philosophy of unlikely suspects, right? This situation happening to somebody who had a content life, mm-hmm. who had a job and it was okay, and they just you know what I mean? I'm not trying to play anybody down, but I'm just saying didn't have your pre-existing well-known take no prisoners, there wouldn't be the obvious challenge. Matter of fact, it just wouldn't show itself. But for you, it's too much who's given, much is expected. Yes. You've been delivered the ultimate challenge because you can win.
Yeah.
It's mm-hmm. not that this is a setup for failure. It's that if anybody could win, you can. Okay, how? It's like the north slope of Everest. Well, it takes somebody to go, no. Everybody said it can't be done for years. Well, mm-hmm. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. And then all of a sudden it can be done.
Yeah.
It's just like El Capitan, that free solo. You've seen that. It's like, once one guy did it, here they go. Now it is possible.
Yeah.
I think it's that. It's like you're a front runner.
Yeah.
And it's beyond inspiring. And so you mentioned in passing, I can go work on my book. I heard that.
And
Tell me about
I literally have chapter upon chapter upon chapter of just the weirdest. I mean, the things that I never would have experienced if it weren't for this accident. I mean, I can recall, I think you and I talked about, being down in Seattle and my friend leaving me alone, and I was going to go do a message down at the Washington Athletic Club or Seattle Athletic Club. And I'm cruising through he drops me off and he's going to go park the van. I'm cruising through the streets of Seattle, and all of a sudden, I realize that anybody can take anything they want from me. They can take my phone, they can take my backpack, they can take whatever off my wheelchair as I'm cruising through the streets of Seattle. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm literally vulnerable and I'm alone and there's nothing I can do about it except for use my voice. And I thought, and I never would have had that experience before because I'm a big, strong male. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, I wonder if this is what a gal feels like after work, 5 o'clock. She's walking down the street, high heels, going to her car, and she's looking over her shoulder thinking, and these feelings that I would have never experienced before.
Right.
But I get to experience that in this. And I'm certainly not saying I'm a gal or I understand that whole thing. But I thought, wow, I'm feeling vulnerable right now.
Right.
Or I literally, so there's a chapter and it's all tied in there. And there's a chapter where I remember after the accident, people would come and see me at my house in the afternoon. And there was a long driveway. And because I had these important words to say, supposedly, after the accident, people would want to come and visit me. And I remember sitting there in the afternoon and sitting there talking to another person. And I remember my son walking home from school. And, it was a long driveway, and here he is walking up to school. And the very first couple times, he would come up and give me a hug. But then he saw that he was kind of interrupting a conversation. And so, it was like a week or 2 weeks worth of people coming to visit me in the afternoon. And so then, I'm sitting there talking to him. And then pretty soon he would, just kind of like, wave at me, and I'd wave back at him as I'm having this conversation with this other important person. And then after, the second week, I can see my son walking up, and he would just glance and keep walking right into the house. All of a sudden I thought,
right,
I'm having this conversation with this other human that I think is so important. Meanwhile, the most important thing is walking up the driveway.
Right.
And I shut down those meetings immediately and made sure that when my son came home, I'm looking at him. And I thought, this is what a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that thinks they're so important has these conversations with other people, and they forget to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty guilty myself right now.
You know what I mean?
Well, you just socked me in the stomach. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's just story after story that I would have never experienced.
Never. Perspective. You walk around and look at it from a different angle. Yeah. Even sitting versus standing.
Yeah.
It's like looking up versus looking down. I mean, it just has to be everywhere. But you're logging these in.
Yeah.
And wow, Todd, that's a book I want. I'm telling you, every one of these stories, I want to. I mean, geez, like, let's not tell anymore because you're choking me up. But I mean it sincerely that these perspectives are heavenly. They're providential. They don't come normally.
Yeah.
The tuition that gets them out from this brain out. You've paid a very rare tuition for these pearls.
Yeah.
They never. It's like finding one at a time that you never would have thought. You've never, and these are the pearls that are going to be the essence of your deliverable. I already know it. It's already happening.
Yeah.
And I just. I mean, one of the greatest books that has ever been written is a book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah. And you look at the setting of his pen to write that book.
Oh, yeah.
And you go, oh, my God, you couldn't wish that space on anybody in the world. But he said, this is a rare opportunity to look at humanity.
Yeah.
To look at who we really are, to look at hope when there's no hope in sight.
Yeah.
These settings offer an opportunity, and you're seeing it and you're doing it. And I guess because it's just the next stream of thought that I want to join a chorus, because I think that if this if this truly is embraced, and I know it is from you, I can't think of anybody that knows you that wouldn't want to get behind how to help make this happen. Mm-hmm. How does this play itself out in delivering this?
Yeah.
Be it how does someone help write a book? How does someone help create you leading a podcast? How does somebody help you be in front of groups and delivering these challenges? I just have to believe that that's the deliverable. It has to happen.
Yeah.
And I want to be on the front of that committee that helps. I in a way, this little podcast it's my prayer and hope that this has a part in that wave of this becoming a really important thing. The world needs this.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. You told me another thing, that you have a superpower, because you said, Greg, it wasn't, I said that wrong. It wasn't like it was downplaying me, but you said you're just a walkie. and I know what that's about. I did that for 45 years.
Yeah.
But now I'm a rollie.
Yeah.
And see, I walk and I roll.
Yeah.
And I have two ways of looking at everything.
Yeah.
You only have one, because you just know the walkie thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Because I have more tools.
I have the edge.
You have the edge. And I went, oh my God. Yeah. I literally walked out in the pasture after that. I said, I just have to take a walk. I just can't even believe that you delivered that so sincerely. But it is exactly like that last story you said. I would have never known this had I not been in this chair alone, where somebody could steal my bag, my phone, and wow. I think God is agreeing with me right now. It sounded great. Don't tell me you can't hear that. I mean, I hope that you can hear it in this podcast. It's just coming down hard. But I think God is going, yes, he does have an advantage.
Yeah.
Elaborate. I mean, you really believe that?
I know it's twisted, but I mean, I really do. It's just and even when I roll into a restaurant and people don't know whether to move the chairs out of the way so I can get to the table, and then they don't know whether to look at me or not look at me or smile at me or look away.
Yeah.
And just the feeling that I get, and again, remember, I'm super blessed, because we just talked about that. Therefore, the grace of God go I, because there's so many people with so much worse stuff that, this is a bump on the log, really, because some people they have cancer, or they're born with, that's a whole nother level of, I'm super blessed to be where I'm in. I got a great wife, great kids, great family. I mean, and some people don't have that, and so I just get to experience all the things that I get to experience a whole different side. I mean, just like you and I talked about. I've done the walkie thing, and now I get to be a roller and everything that comes along with that. I mean, I just, I don't know.
Todd, you have, I'm going to throw this out and say the obvious. Mm-hmm. Okay, your awareness skills are off the chart. You don't miss anything. Your listening skills are off the chart. Your communication skills, your natural communication skills you couldn't teach it in a class. And so I would say that the essence of what God has always, the greatest gifts that he's ever given you are all working beautifully. Mm-hmm. And yet this change of rolly to walkie, right? It tees up more opportunity for those gifts and that drive to be seen in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
I just, and so it has to play itself out. And it is. I can tell, Haley, you have a very, I want to say, unusual demeanor. It's very calm, very, and I think it's part of that perspective. Mm-hmm. I don't think much rattles you. and in a world that's just rattled.
Yeah.
And so, oh my God, my battery in my phone went out, and they freaking out. And you're like, I can just see that gauge is busted. Nothing rattles you. You just calm. How do you think this is going to play out there downstream with not only your life, but your kids' lives? Maybe you'll have kids someday, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think, like my dad talked about earlier, when growing up, I mean, he did everything to embarrass us. So literally nothing embarrasses my brothers and I anymore, because he would show up, in a different car to school to pick us up, in a clown suit and whatever, So I think that baseline was set really early on. And then I think just the way that God works in our lives to bring my dad and I together to work together now, we just have both have a great understanding of each other's baseline of, when something goes wrong, you ultimately revert back to your baseline of the foundation of what you've built, with your faith in God, and also just your daily practices with your mindset and everything like that. And I think both of us, because we both have bad days or bad thoughts sometimes. And I think we have a really special relationship in that we bounce each other, just those ideas off of each other immediately. And, even just on the way here, I was having some medical stuff, and my dad's like, all right, how do we fix this? It's a game. Let's go, Wow. And then same with him, where he's having a bad day or something goes wrong. And I'm like, okay, how do we fix it? Everything's fixable. Let's do this. And I think even just what you were saying about taking these gifts that he has and, bringing them to a different platform or creating a book or doing something else, I think that it's just a special relationship, and it's inspiring to me to help him do that, because I have some different talents that, he's the idea guy and I'm the organization. So I have some different talents where I can make that happen for him, and I'm inspired and excited for that, in our life.
Yeah. It's like the whole team is almost preset to get in the game.
Yeah.
To roll it out.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Right? Right? It's
nice, Greg. Yeah.
It's really, I'm just excited to watch that journey for sure. I have another one that's going to throw a curveball high and tight. Uh-huh. And I've taught an intensive called Power Players. Uh-huh. It's a 4-day intensive. I've taught it 37 times.
Oh, boy.
There's 50 students in each class. So there's a couple thousand power players in the country. Molly being one that you know. Jeff Latham being one. Many, I'm sure, that we could name in the North End.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know Don Hale. Do you know that name? Yeah. A lot of them. You couldn't name a city in the country that I wouldn't tell you who I've been blessed to work with there. Okay. At every power player intensive, I handpick an alumni power player, usually one that's gone on to be a coaching student of mine, someone that I work one-on-one with. I pick 5 of them for every power player intensive to be a TA with me, to help with the exercises, to help lead these 50 people in a very visual, kinesthetic experience. Every TA that's ever been has, of course, been to Power Players first, so they know the content. They understand what I'm teaching real well. They do it. They live it. Yep. They deal structure well based on what they learned. Okay. I would like to invite you to be a TA at Power Players. And I do them twice a year. They're always in great places. And you know real estate well. I'd fill you in on the content, but it's more being there to help challenge individuals to push themselves to a different level. And I can't think of anybody I've ever met that would be as qualified in that department as a TA at Power Players than you. And so that's a standing invitation. I've got one coming up in January in Arizona. I've got one coming up in August in Bend. There's 2 a year. So I just want you to think on that, and I'll get you there, and you'll be in action.
Well, Greg, I appreciate that, and it scares me, so I would do it.
Well, it's I know the exercises that we do.
Yeah.
And it would be a challenge on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point.
Yes.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And I think that you being a part of this amazing Power Player community, we're leaving in a week for this year's annual Power Player alumni trip, always in November. Anybody who's ever been to Power Players can go to this alumni trip. Mm-hmm. Well, next year's alumni trip is in Maui. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. Yeah. Now we just got to put a lot of buoys on you. You show us how to body surf or something.
Well, I can't get hurt anymore.
Right. We're not worried about that. No. Right? That's good. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, it's part of the madness. It's part of the doors that should open because of how you're winning.
Yeah.
If you weren't winning, it wouldn't have the same. But because you're winning, now others can win because you're winning.
Yeah.
And I want them to win, and you want them to win.
Yeah.
And that ultimately at the end, it's impact. It's how did this impact, first and foremost, your family?
Yeah.
You mentioned when we met before, it says, well, Greg, if this hadn't happened, boy, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah.
My finances may not be as good as they are now.
Yeah.
My relationships
would not be as good as they are.
Just on. And you're like, I can immediately see the benefits of what this has done.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take it the next layer which is what you're already doing, but I'm wanting to increase the layer.
Yeah.
And having you involved in Power Players, having you involved in alumni, putting you up front of a lot of people to say, all right, let's talk about winning.
Yeah.
Wow, I can hear the speech. I just want to live long enough to sit there and take notes.
Yeah.
So anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm going to get all the details of all your options. So your absolute detail person can just work that out.
She's like the quiet Energizer bunny where she just thump, 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 thump. Yeah, she doesn't slow down.
Oh my gosh. My gosh. Another invitation, and it again, I'm already thinking. There's 2 days right here in this hangar a year that are just. It's a day of teaching. It's a free day of teaching, and we have a great lunch. And
I'm planning on making the next one. Yeah,
March 1 is the next one.
March 1.
March 1. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're going to make the next one because, again, at that, I want you up front, and I want you to take 10, 15 minutes and say, listen, I want to challenge you with some thoughts about what winning looks like.
And let's plan on having my book done by then so that,
oh my God.
I've already gotten 18 chapters and I just need to flesh them out. And so they're all in my,
oh my God. Okay.
Written,
wow.
So.
That would be the surprise of all surprises because I'll buy a couple hundred of them
to my daughter
to give one to everybody that's here. That would just be incredible, right? I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, you did punch me in the stomach, Greg, and it's still just chewing on the back of my brain of, you can win. And I think that we So this is interesting as well. I don't need to impress anybody. The weird thing is that if I have a really cool pair of Oakley sunglasses on, or I have my Rolex watch on, or I roll up in a Range Rover, none of that is important for a quad, because it's like, who am I impressing with my good looks or my whatever all that is? It's all been stripped away. Right. You can't get at me anymore. Nothing impresses me about typically any human being except for the relationships they have with other human beings, because all the stuff you and I both know, it's all just dust. You're just on rental. It's not really ours. It's going on. It's going to be done.
Right.
But how is my communication with Greg? Am I making his soul burn brighter? Is this experience have my daughter's soul to burn brighter? Yeah. And so you laid that into my gut of, I'm not, it's not winning the money, it's winning how am I connecting and make somebody else's life better? And I don't think that I'm doing that to the best level I can. It irritates me.
I'm here to tell you that I think you're doing an amazing job.
I appreciate that.
And let's all throw a little gas on that fire.
Yeah.
Let's make it as big as we can make that thing burn.
Yeah.
And I say we, because that's a word you now know.
Yeah.
And it's a word that challenges me to the core. Yeah. But it's again, in that you are winning, everybody wants to be on that team. Yeah. If you weren't winning, nobody wants to be on that team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? But you are winning.
I want to win better, and I want to win at the game that's important for God.
Yes.
Not necessarily Todd.
Yeah. Right.
Anyhow, thank you for popping me with that one. Didn't feel good, but also at the same time.
Well, this has been such a treat. And I so appreciate just the opportunity, Todd and Haley, to just unveil this to the audience that at least this will reach. And I look forward to all of those things. We'll get our logistics down. We'll know what's happening, and just those waves of impact will just keep getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. It's awesome. That's awesome. Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And to those of you listening to this, I know you're going to want to listen to this one over and over again. Take out a notepad, write a few things down. There's how you mentioned a Facebook page, but I want you to tell people how they connect with you, Todd. What's the best way?
It's after the great sitting occurred, as my youngest son Caleb has said, he calls it the great sitting when I said sit down, because the accident, my family and a friend developed Big Daddy's Big Adventure. And I got the name Big Daddy was because during the school days, when the kids were in school, I would go and have lunch, and then I would go out on after lunch, and they played Foursquare. Mm-hmm. Well, I would dominate all those little suckers in Foursquare. And so I would say, Big Daddy's in the house, Big Daddy's in the house, because there's always the square in Foursquare. You want to get to the A square. So this is when they were growing up, and I'd bonk the ball off their heads and their bodies, and they'd be crying, and they'd go stand in line. And so I always got to the A square, and I'd say, Big Daddy's in the house, and taunt the kids. And then one day, one of the kids, my wife is a substitute teacher there, and they asked her, they said, hey, is Big Daddy going to be here today? And she goes, who's Big Daddy? And he goes, that's Caleb's dad. And so I used to dominate all those suckers when they were in 5th and 6th grade, and they still remember that. Yeah. And so anyhow, they started Big Daddy's Big Adventure, and then I would go on and do a video occasionally at the very beginning after I was injured, and then I still do one, Not Enough yet. So there's Big Daddy's Big Adventure, and then they can always find Todd Duitsman out there somewhere floating around.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So and give me a call.
I can't wait to go to Big Daddy's Big Adventure and check out some videos and up my Foursquare game. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Haley. And thank you for listening. Until next time, really appreciate you dialing into this podcast. Yep. Thanks again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Greg.